Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. We are summoned to an extraordinary session. It would be important to call the attention to the National Assembly that moving forward, even though our standing orders are not telling us exactly the procedures we should adopt under such circumstances, unlike the introduction of a bill under certificate of urgency, where the motion will be put to the National Assembly and without debate under Section 101, we decide whether we'll proceed or not, whether we decide that this is an emergency or not. And ultimately, we should amend these constitutions and improve our standing orders so that in ratifying international agreements, motion will be put when we are summoned to an extraordinary session so that we decide whether the matter is actually an urgent matter requiring such a decision. That is absolutely essential. Honorable Speaker, we are here again charged with the responsibility to dispose what Section 112 mandates us to consider, that every matter before us must be discharged on the basis of conscience and the national interest. We are reminded by Section 75 that whatever agreement we enter into should not be derogatory to the sovereignty of the country and should promote the national interest. We have an international agreement before us aiming to discharge what is already an international goal, sustainable development goal, to put an end to poverty and hunger, to ensure that we have food sufficiency and enhance employability of our populations. We must look at the context of the agreements that are before us. And I would agree with the member for Banjul North that rich documents are provided to us, and we do not have the time to take all the information that we are given so that we can discharge our responsibility with the maturity that the Constitution dictates. Honorable Speaker, it is not enough just to consider an agreement appropriate and then approve it. We are here to inform our citizenry, for them to know what we are agreeing to and what would be achieved by agreeing to it. That is what is going to make it possible to have the social audit, because we ourselves must be accountable. And without the population knowing what we supported, they cannot hold us accountable. Honorable Speaker, first and foremost, the Honorable Minister should have explained why it is urgent to summon this meeting, because it costs this assembly resources. So the first task was to tell us why all of us had to suspend our committee meetings to be here, so that we can be convinced in the first place that what we are summoned to do is actually urgent for us to do. Honorable Speaker, looking at the context that they have given us, we are told very clearly that $84 million is spent on imported rice annually. And that we are importing 80% of the rice we are consuming. To address that problem is a national interest. Honorable Speaker, we must understand the context in which that problem is to be addressed. The emphasis of the agreement is to involve the women. 80% should actually address the challenges of women. And the youth, 20% should address the problem of the youth. We're informed that 90% of women are engaged in rice production, in agriculture, women engage in agriculture, rice production. That in terms of the youth, only 20% are involved. But the youth population, those they said is 39.9% constitute the youth population. They are giving us those statistics. But the reality is that from 0 to 29 constitutes 72% of our population. So we must begin to examine the active, productive population that should enhance the economic growth of the country. Honorable Speaker, it is also very clear that our land tenure system is based on founding families, giving usufructory rights to people who are members of the families to be able to cultivate. We are told what the problems are. Soil infertility is increasing, meaning that we would need fertilizer. They do not have the equipments necessary to be able to engage in large-scale production. Pest infestation, weeds, all create problems because they do not have the machinery to be able to deal with those pre-harvest problems and post-harvest problems. So essentially, we know what the problems are. The farmers know, they're experts. We continue to call them unskilled. They know what farming is all about. They are skilled. We've just not given them certificates. So they know what the problems are and what is to be done. Honorable Speaker, we're told that the intervention is in line with the Sustainable Development Goals as well as the National Development Plan, 2018 to 2021, which has prioritized the expansion of agriculture and fisheries with the objective of ensuring food accessibility and sufficiency. Honorable Speaker, what is very clear is that for over $5 billion had been spent by the FASDEPs and the GCAVs and NEMAs, but essentially the objectives were these objectives, the goals were these goals. Our committee needed to engage these experts. And what is disheartening, Honorable Speaker, you will see how much money is going to be spent on consultants and hiring international experts, specifically stated, international experts. 55 years of independence. We have NARI and all these institutions. We have the University of the Gambia. We have the college offering diploma to agriculturists. Where are our experts? We need to ask that question. Are we ready for these projects? Are we ready to implement them? Or are we repeating the problems of the past? How can we build the future without knowing the past, without knowing the present? We, as a National Assembly, needed to engage these experts. They are here to come and review these documents for us. We gather information. We shape the policies and programs of the country. We help the executive to put in place what all of us can agree on, because it will have the effect to which we have put our mind and hearts. Honorable Speaker, I will commence, look at the content of the agreement. Honorable Speaker, the financial agreement talks about IFAD providing $17,020,000 as grant amount and $4,255,000 as loan amount, stipulated at page 13 of the agreement, Schedule 2. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the beginning of the agreement where it talks about the stakeholders, the Gambia government at page 1, and IFAD, it starts with the citations and telling us very clearly what the recitals are. Honorable Speaker, just look at page 1 where it says whereas. It says that the borrower, recipient, expects to obtain from the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries Fund for International Development of it financial assistance approximately in the amount of 10 million United States dollars. That is part of the project. Agence Française de Développement has expressed interest in providing financial assistance approximately in the amount of 10 million euro. The GEF Secretariat, and so on and so on. So what the motion talks about $47 plus million. That's what we are supposed to ratify. But we are told here in this agreement is that we are supposed to ratify $17,020,000 and $4,250,000 as far as IFAD is concerned. So where is the rest coming from? So essentially, we should really read our documents carefully, and they are our guide in telling us what we are approving. But we must inquire to know that things are very clear to us before we give approval. We must not continue to give the impression that there are some people who are pro-development and those people who are against development. Who is against development here? Who will want to stall development here? Then the person will be booted out from the National Assembly. The people don't want anybody who is opposed to development in this National Assembly. But we are put here to open our eyes and help our people to understand what the executive intends to do for them. And they will be the judge. We should not block any process of development. We should make it clear. If we have our doubts, let our doubts be known. Let it be proven wrong. Then history will be the judge. That's why we are here. So, Honorable Speaker, looking at page 13, we've seen all the objectives and the goals of the project. But 17 million appears to be very huge when translated into Gambian dollars. But not when it comes to paying consultants and importing high-tech technology in order to carry out accountability. And you will see everywhere they allow this project, then the management will come The high tech will come. And where will all those materials come from, all those equipment from them? So it is important that we look at what gets to our people, what will get to the family farms, so that ultimately they'll be able to produce. We talk about a value chain. After the rice production, it should be processed. What will be in the hands of those people who will be processing the rice? It will be marketed. Who are going to sell the rice? There must be a linkage. That is what you call a value chain. You produce, you process, you market. And it is Gambians who should be doing this. So how many Gambians will engage in, how many families will engage in the production? How will many will engage in the processing? How will many will engage in the marketing? This is what a project proposal is all about. Is to give clear figures in all the sectors of this value chain. And we look at this sum and say, will this sum be able to provide the additional sum? Where are the instruments that we need to ratify to give the additional sum? Should we usually put all these things together and therefore consolidate them and ratify them together? The minister can guide us. Maybe they have reasons why they believe this is very urgent as a start before the others will come on board. Or maybe they are already on board and maybe my eyes have problem, maybe I've not seen. I'm here to be guided in that regard. But at least I don't have that document in my hands. So in that sense, and I've not heard it from the motion made by the minister, what I heard is 17,020,000 grant, 4,255,000 as loan. That's the motion. And maybe the motion needs to be withdrawn and another motion made to give us this 47 plus million. So, Honorable Speaker, I would not want to go further in the detail other than to say that cancelling consulting services will take 4 million, whilst grants and subsidies will also take about 4 million. And my emphasis, in the developed world, they subsidize their farmers to enable them to engage in production. That's how they improve their agricultural production. Now they can talk about putting an end to subsidies, and we know the implications. That's why governments are coming and going in their own countries, by the opposition of their farmers. But not only that, Honorable Speaker, to be able to end hunger and poverty, which is the fundamental objective of the Sustainable Development Goals and the objective of the National Development Plan. They develop a system of social security where you have consumption-based welfare. They give those who cannot earn to be able to live. Consumption-based welfare. We do not have that. There is no consumption-based welfare in this country. Families are carrying each other on their backs to survive. If they did not, vast majority of people in this country will die. So if we are to eradicate poverty, we must save those people who are carrying on their back. Children, the elderly, all categories of people. They can no longer afford to do it. Their backs are breaking. And it's not about rural and urban. That's not the trajectory. Poverty has no rural phase or urban phase. Poverty has and has an inhuman face. And we must face it. We must look at it, Honorable Speaker. So in that regard, Honorable Speaker, the emphasis must be put on production-based welfare. And that is why the grants and subsidies to our farmers should increase, so that they will be able to have the fertilizer, farming inputs, all they need to be able to expand their production. That's how we are going to eradicate poverty. Without seeing grants and subsidies increasing to our farmers, we will be failing. We'll be enriching the few in agriculture. We'll commercialize it, enrich the few, and the vast majority of people will live in abject poverty and will be a failure as far as the Sustainable Development Goals are concerned or the National Development Plan is concerned. So looking at this, Honorable Speaker, I'm not satisfied with what I'm seeing. Maybe when we come to the other ones, we will see subsidies and grants going to our farmers. If you do not see that, don't tell the Gambian people that you have a project aimed at eradicating their poverty. They will indict you in the future. Honorable Speaker, I would recommend, if the minister so would agree, that we need to look at this rich effort to address a major problem in a very objective way. Not to prolong reviews, but to do sufficient reviews so that when we have the session proper, if they wish to go with all the ideas mentioned, well, they take charge and take the benefit and also take the reward of appreciation of the people if they succeed. But if we have questions, we'll be able to put to them. If not now, maybe they'll be able to incorporate it in additional policies or in seeking other loans. I would therefore wish, Honorable Speaker, to resort to our standing orders 53, to make a motion. If the members wish, they support it. If not, we proceed. But standing order 53, Honorable Speaker, paragraph C, page 27. Standing order 53, C, a motion for the adjournment of a debate. Since the debate is on, Honorable Speaker, I want to make a motion that, given the importance of agriculture, covering 70% of our population, and being the heart of the struggle for the eradication of poverty, that we suspend the debate and resume it during our ordinary session to give our committee, Select Committee on Agriculture, to involve all stakeholders so that we get a fair view of the state of affairs of all these agreements and make a decision that is wise, right, and proper.
Do I take it, Honorable Member, that you're moving a motion? I want to be clear.
Yes, indeed, Honorable.
Can you lay your motion properly then, please, so that the records will capture everything? Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, relying on Standing Order 53, paragraph C, which states that the following motion may be made without notice, a motion for the adjournment of a debate, taking note that what is before us, which is the issue development for the eradication of poverty is so fundamental to our nation. And taking further note that the documents given to us are so comprehensive in their presentation, requiring sufficient time for all members to digest the content, I move, Honorable Speaker, for the debate at this stage to be adjourned and the documents forwarded to the committee, select committee,